And we've got over here Chris Bumke, who is our acting Deputy Principal for Year 11 and 12 at the moment. He's also the Year 9, 10 Head of Department, so you've probably already heard from him before. We've also got Mr Tony Roberts, of course, our Executive Principal. Good evening, everyone. And I know that Chris and Kylie, who's our Year 9 Deputy Principal, will introduce some more people in a minute. So obviously tonight is about partnerships as well, learning, asking us questions, and then going next door and really having one-on-one conversations to explore subjects further. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land. That's of course the Cubby Cubby and Gubby Gubby people on whose land we're gathering tonight, and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging, and also thank them for being custodians of this beautiful Merredin Plains that where we all, I think, would agree, love to live, and that beautiful rainforest we have on our side. So there's my acknowledgement, and also would encourage you to, if you've got any questions, we've got David from our PNC. David's our PNC President. So thank you for coming, and without further ado.
Thank you very much everyone for being here. For those that are unaware, we are just recording this for people to be able to view at a later date, just for those that can't be here tonight. So if you do have any questions, if you can just hold them to the end, happy to go through them, that's not a problem at all. I guess for your information, tonight's agenda, a couple of things to look at. An introduction to some of our curriculum HODs, because some of you may be aware of who they are, some may not. They're all currently in next door, so after you leave here and want to go and have a conversation, you can sort of seek out that particular face. The process for jet planning, what the QCE is, what an ATAR is, and what subject selection for Year 10 looks like. External options that become available in Year 10 as well, and as I said, we've got that Q&A at the end. So the Year 10 team, normally Mr Caruso would be delivering this presentation, and he's the one that some of you may have seen before in some information that we've put out. Myself in my role looking after Year 9 and Year 10. We also have Dan Harrison, who's our year level coordinator, and Miss Clarence, who's been our GO. Oh, it'll be Miss Trend for... Yes, I must have forgotten to update that one. As I said, our curriculum HODs, these are our subject specialists. These are the people that are in the know and have everything you need to know about those subjects that you're looking at doing. And some of you I know have picked up the sheet of paper with those subjects on there. So they will be able to answer any of your questions in next door. I've already hit you with a number of acronyms. This was something that a friend of mine developed, and I've just adapted it to suit Merredin. This is the periodic table of acronyms in education. So you will be confronted by these all over the place. I still get confused quite regularly about what they all mean. So if you're confronted by these and you're unclear, please ask. We just unfortunately fall into the habit of using them to try and save time, and more often than not we forget to. So I would like to say thank you to Liana Nation who developed that as well. With JET plans, the Junior Education and Training Plan, the first of those acronyms, we're looking at the abilities, the interests, the ambitions of our Year 10 students going into Year 10, and the conversations we have at our JET plans are around that. What are you interested in? What do you enjoy doing? What have you shown that you've done well at in the past? These interviews typically run about 10 or 15 minutes with students, and that's where we go through those subjects and make sure that all of the subjects are entered correctly for that selection to occur. Information around finance is also available, because obviously some subjects have a cost that comes with them, just to make sure that everyone's fully informed about those.
Can I just step in there, just because we're currently in the midst of doing this with our Year 9, so just for the parents who have come along tonight, every Tuesday in Triple P the students have been listening to our HODs also speak to them around their subject offerings 9 into 10. They have a planning document that they should be writing down what they're interested in and what different subjects that they think that they might look to choose. So we have one, we did that today, we have one more week of that next week, which will be our English and our Humanities, Mrs. Randall. speak to the students, and then they will be locking in with those 10-15-minute conversations in week 7 with our pods or deputies, and basically a bit of a round robin, go through, and we'll pop those into one school. So we're really coming to that clinching moment for subjects, for electives, have those supportive conversations. It really is around that, in what they're interested in, what they're showing they're good at, and what they think might be attributing to that pathway and that passion that they're doing. So I just want to...
No, absolutely. So I guess for those subjects, a couple of things to be aware of. Remember that you need to select one subject from each line, and I'm going to show you what that means in a moment, because I can see already there's a couple of people that have, I guess, marked some potential things on there, and they've got some discussions to have. You'll be looking at choosing a VET option. Now, VET is Vocational Education and Training. These are our certificate courses, and that will most likely be a Certificate 2 of some description. We strongly consider that you look to choose subjects that are going to suit you in your potential pathway post-schooling, whilst still choosing subjects that are of interest to you. Having that mix is very important, because obviously we want you to make sure you're studying a subject that will support your pathway moving forward, whilst also still studying those subjects and doing that learning that you really are passionate about and enjoying. A small caveat that some of these subjects are very much contingent on numbers. So English will always run. Some of the subjects, such as visual art or design, may not be able to run if we don't have enough numbers to be able to support that class. So if that does happen, you will be revisited by a staff member just to clarify what another subject is that you may choose, but we just cannot always guarantee that every subject will run. So this should be what you have in front of you. I believe I got the last minute update, but very broadly, as you look, the columns that run down where it says the line, that is when the subject occurs. So if we look at line W and X, that means that English and maths will always be running at that time. The reason we've got that is it means half the cohort does English, half the cohort does maths on line W, and then on line X they would be swapping. The ones that had done English would be doing maths, and the ones that were doing maths would be doing English. As you look across the other lines, you can see there's a section where it's got quite a bold line that runs through it. We're looking for you to be able to pick subjects from above there. And then if you look along the bottom, those are the vocational educational training classes. We're looking for you to pick one from below that line. So what that would look like is potentially picking Certificate 2 in Furniture Making Pathways on line U, and then every other selection would be above that line. So if you do have any questions or want to clarify that, please do, because we want to make sure that students get the right subjects entered from the get-go. We don't have to go back and, I guess, readjust or fix things that could have been prevented earlier. Some things to reflect on in terms of our subject offerings. Are you choosing a science? Because if you have a look, you've got the opportunity to specialise in science now. You might choose to head down a pathway where you're particularly interested in biology. That's a passion of yours. You can now choose that, and you would study that for the whole year, as opposed to what has happened previously, where you've done it for a term. If you're unsure of where you want to go and whether you want to study science in senior, you may choose to pick just our general science subject, which is very similar to the science that you have done previously, where you look at that across each term as opposed to studying it for the whole year. Have you achieved a balance on your timetable? So that's a balance of subjects that you enjoy and that will help you in your pathway, but it's also a balance of subjects that I guess are time intensive. You don't want to be trying to juggle lots and lots of subjects that are requiring lots of intense study. You want to be able to try and make sure you've got a nice blend of both. Have you picked subjects that provide options for your future? Because whilst we'd love you to have an idea of where you want to go, we want to try and leave those options as broad as possible. And I guess with Year 10, This is a little bit of a trial and error period. We will be allowing you to change subjects at different times throughout Year 10 because we know not everyone's going to get it right. But it is really, really important that we make sure that we stick to those time frames around those subject changes and understand that we may pick a subject and then have to complete that term's worth of work in there just to allow those subject changes to happen. Yes?
In terms of the science in Year 10, if you're looking at going into the Defence Force or trade, it's highly encouraged. So that's why we do have the general subject for any student that are looking at those two specific pathways. So just, I guess, when you're having that conversation with your child, if that's a pathway, then definitely do a general science.
And I guess part of the reason for that is we're starting to try and really prepare students to understand what are the prerequisites they're going to need as they enter into senior if they're going down a tertiary, whether that's TAFE or university pathway, because there are certain courses, certain areas of study where prerequisites are different. So being aware that if they're interested in that Defence Force pathway or heading into a trade, that's where they need to be preparing for that now. There's more information available obviously on our website. So if you have a look on the piece of paper, the grey one, and if you didn't collect one, there are more down the front, you can grab one on the way out. That will have a QR code on there. One of those QR codes will take you to our website where all of our subject information is. That should be getting the most up-to-date information as of tonight. The other QR code will take you to a series of videos that give you some more information about each of the subjects. So if you don't get a chance to talk to our staff next door about those areas, you can jump on and have a look at some of those videos. If you're interested in those vet subjects, you can check in the Year 11 vet heading because that's where all of that information is grouped. And again, just a reminder that whilst we offer all of these subjects, we are contingent on having the numbers in those courses. I spoke at the start of the session about additional pathways that start to open up to us in Year 10. We have some external options which become available and can complement our school's timetable or your student's timetable. That includes TAFE at school, being able to start studying courses administered by TAFE Queensland, school-based apprenticeships and traineeships, and some of these options may access that VETIS funding. Now, that is the probably biggest sticking point and the biggest hurdle people find. VETIS funding essentially allows every student access to one free certificate course, which is wonderful. The issue is once that initial funding is used, it cannot be recouped. It has been used, it is gone. So if you use your VETIS funding in Year 10 to complete a Certificate 2 in scuba diving, for example, which is the example I used in the previous presentation, can run about $400 or $500 sometimes. If you compare that to a Certificate 2 in electrotechnology, which can potentially cost up to $4,500, I personally know which one would rather come out of my hip pocket as opposed to having someone else pay for. So please just be aware of that as you look at those vet courses. The vast majority of ones we offer in Year 10 are offered through our school as an RTO, so there is a fee that you will pay that does not use that VETIS funding. The school-based apprenticeships and traineeships, these are designed for people that are really looking at entering into a workplace field beyond school and are hoping to get there either prior to finishing school or right as they're finishing. It's a combination of secondary subjects that they study alongside paid vocational work. So they're earning and learning. They contribute towards the QCE, which is the Queensland Certificate of Education, which is the senior certificate they work towards in Year 11 and Year 12, alongside their graduation certificate. Students typically work these one school day a week. So as an example, that might be on a Wednesday. So the student attends Monday, Tuesday, goes off campus and is working at their workplace or completing their traineeship or apprenticeship elsewhere, and then comes back on the Thursday and the Friday. They can work additional hours on the weekends after school. That's not a problem, and most workplaces are very appreciative of that. Some examples of this include childcare, hospitality, plumbing, electrotechnology. There are an abundance of choices that are available. And if you are seeking more information about any of these vet courses or school-based apprenticeship traineeships, you can talk to Deb Ernst, who's our Head of Department for Vet. She is all across that and will be able to give you any information you need. To give you a little bit of guidance about what Year 10 looks like in terms of preparing you for those, I guess, courses of study and preparing for senior. At the start of Year 10, we're looking you to get your USI number, your Unique Student Identifier number. That is what's used to reference you into those vet courses of study, because that makes sure it gets attached to you. There's also resume, job application writing and preparation of mock interviews to prepare you for that part-time job and also complete some of your courses of study towards those certificates. You look at doing some workplace health and safety and white card training in Term 2, along with work experience in those mock interviews. And then Term 3 is really about career planning, the SET planning, the Senior Education and Training Plan, and preparing for that senior pathway in Term 4. So you can see how the work you've done in Year 9 so far is kind of leading up and preparing you for Year 10, and that's kind of mirrored quite nicely here as you go into that Year 10 space as well. That's the main part of our presentation this evening. We want to be able to provide people an opportunity for any questions or answers that they may be seeking, and then have an opportunity to go and speak to our presenters in next door. Ms. Craig, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on to finish with?
No, really just, in that space of subject selection at the moment, the next 2 weeks, we will look at condensing down those offerings as early as we can, so that we're hoping that once students select them on one school, that will be it, and that will be the subjects that run. So we'll try and get that process ASAP, but we just wanted to see what we find each cohort. Sometimes they might be heavy in the arts, or they might be heavy in the sciences, so it's really good to be able to put it on the table and then let the students walk with both of their feet, and then we can offer what we can in regards to the HR and the resourcing part of it as well. So that's just that bit that will come out in the next 2 weeks. So yeah, really exciting. It's been really great. The Gold and Silver Awards went out today as well, so congratulations to any of our young people who achieved those today. I was really proud to hand those out. That's everything.
No worries. So if you do have any questions, we'll be hanging about afterwards. Please feel free to head out either door. We've got next door set up with all of our heads of department, along with some other support staff out there as well, that you're welcome to go and ask questions and pick their brain about information that you might need. So thank you for your attendance this evening, much appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you with your SET planning.